And welcome to another episode of the Rorschach Test Podcast. I am your host, Terrell James. Today, I'm doing things a little differently than how I normally do it. And typically, I I show my guests these Rorschach or these ink block tests, and I link it to what it is that they do for a living and who they are as a person. But this is going to be a little different. Today, I got a very, very special guest, one of my closest friends, my friend Monty. And we're going to me and Monty, we have some plans. We have some things that we have coming for you all. But unfortunately, the reason that we have these things coming, it's not the best thing. But I'm going to let Monty tell you a little bit about that. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions just so we can lead into that, and then we're going to get into the whole Rorschach test. So, um, Monty, right now you're dealing with cancer, with
Yeah,
cancer. So,
I actually was diagnosed with appendix cancer 2.5 years ago. And it doesn't sound like it would be too crucial, but basically my appendix exploded and dropped a couple hundred tumors all over my insides. We had a surgery, had most of them removed. They're all back. So I'm looking at another surgery probably within another 2 months. It's going to be a little bit
okay,
more expensive and a little bit more involved.
okay. Um, you kind of went out for a second. Are you able to get a little bit closer to your mic?
Yeah.
Just so. Okay, now it looks like a mugshot, but that works.
Hi.
So, okay. I all of the questions, for the most part, most of the questions that I have are going to be linked to just where your mindset is and where your emotions are in relation to the cancer. And then but we're going to, I promise everybody, we're going to end on a lighter note. So, and also, this is also, I think that this is important. This particular show and what you and I have coming along, because we're going to do another show. We're going to do a show just me and you, not just the Rorschach test. Me, we're going to have an ongoing show, um, and this is going to be something that is full of hope and fun and just living life and just enjoying ourselves. So it's going to be we're not going to really deal with the darkness. We will acknowledge it, but we won't live there. Well, we're just going to move from that place. So we're going to start that here and now. So first place I want to start is here. So what did you say that you saw here?
Well, the first thing that I saw was a tiny pelvis and a giant coccyx, which is your tailbone and
Hmm.
basically like your hips.
Okay. All right. So we're going to start with that small pelvis, that tiny pelvis. So the pelvis actually it supports the spinal column, and the spinal column, that's actually how we're able to remain upright. But you said that you saw a small pelvis. So I imagine a small pelvis may have a harder time keeping up a larger a larger spinal column. So I
Also,
want to talk.
off of fat jokes, is that what we're doing?
No, we're going somewhere else with that. So, um, I want to talk about support because like that pelvis. You said it's something smaller trying to support something bigger. Well, you said it's something smaller. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing in that is something bigger. So I want to talk about support. I want to talk about trying to support something that's big, actually. So you have an incredible amount of support that's around you right now, but you are being supported by people who aren't going through what it is that you're going through. So because of that, because we can't relate to that, does it ever feel like the support just isn't enough?
In the beginning, it did. I actually had an incident with a small child right after my first surgery that kind of changed that altogether. Um, I have a friend of mine from high school, and you know how you have friends that are acquaintances that you never see all the time, but you kind of keep in touch. She had a child. Child was, I think, 13 years old and diagnosed with cancer. Um, child was also going through some other things. They were changing their gender. And initially, when you get cancer, it's always like, why God, why me, what happened? I don't understand. And basically, God told me just you'll find out. And the main thing is I didn't understand it at the time, but then I about 6-8 months after my surgery, I ran into this situation, and I got a call from my friend, and she had actually said that her daughter, now son, had gotten roller skates for Christmas 2 years prior and had never been able to use them. Now, my wife is a roller derby girl, played for Dover, for Delaware, for quite a few years, and Salisbury and Baltimore and a couple other places. So we decided to get the team together to just give this kid a nice day. Team got together, they all came out. The mom had reached out to me and basically said, hey, Axel's miserable. He doesn't want to be around anybody. He's having a bad day. It's terrible, and I don't even know if we're going to get him in the building. And I just said, get him here, and we'll worry about it when we get him here. We'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. So Axel comes in, and he's in a wheelchair at this point. He's got tubes and hoses poking out of every orifice of his body, and I kind of understand that. And when you're dealing with, a 14-year-old kid that's got cancer, that's miserable, and they're already mad because they're there, what do you say to kind of change the vibe in the room? So I looked Axel straight in the face and I said, hey, man, wouldn't it be nice to be able to take a crap without 17 people running around you trying to pull hoses and cords and stuff all out of the way, and just be able to go to the bathroom and be left alone? And he laughed for about 5 minutes. And from that point on, we clicked. And the whole time we're going through this, he's miserable. He didn't want to skate. We just hung out and we talked about movies and video games and horror films, and we kind of connected in a way. And afterwards, his mom reached out to me and said that's the first time he smiled in 6 months. He passed away 3 months later, 2 or 3 months later. And it was weird, man, because you talk about the support, and I didn't realize I was being the support at the time. I didn't realize that the crappy experience that I was going through was going to make an impact in this child's life. And it's funny, we always ask and pray and hope and wonder, and why me? Why me? Well, why you? Because number one, you can take it, and number two, you can share that with somebody else and maybe get them over the hump. We don't know it at the time, but yeah, the support system has been amazing. And going back to them, I didn't realize I was going to be a support system. I just thought, we were hanging out with a kid and we had to make him laugh and we had to give him a good night. You never know what little thing you do changes somebody's day or week or month or life or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. It kind of puts things in perspective for you. You said something that was huge. You said, I believe you said something about, you said, God, why not me?
Yeah.
My cousin, who actually he passed from cancer when he was 25. That's exactly what he said. And between the ages of 17 and 25, he got cancer like 7 times. He had Alzheimer's. And he said he never said why me. He said why not me. He had the exact same mindset that you had. I remember watching him go through these things. He was like my little brother, so I was there every step of the way. And then, and me knowing you remind me so much of him. Not so much the personalities. The personalities are very different, but but the outlook on life is very similar. And just the need and the want to just help others, and to just be so selfless in what you're going through. For a lot of people, it is why me. For a lot of people who are going through things nowhere near as big as cancer, it's why me. So to hear somebody who was actually dealing with it to say why not me, I mean, I think it's huge. This is part of the reason that I wanted to do this podcast, because people need to hear that from you. So
Yeah, and I mean, it's
this
just cancer, Some people it's
mhm,
diabetes, some people it's gambling addiction. Some people it's cocaine, whatever it is. I mean, everybody has their block. As soon as you say cancer, people freak out. Oh no, oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Why are you sorry? You didn't give me the cancer.
Hmm.
There's a genetic defect in my body that caused it.
Hmm.
So instead of playing the oh I'm so sorry game, how about we just live in the moment where we are? Because a bad time
Right.
is a waste of time.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Okay. And by the way, the show that we're going to be doing is about not wasting time. That's exactly where we're going with that. But we'll get to that later. Okay. So the other thing that you said that you saw here in this picture.
Yeah, that's the 1800s plague mask,
Hmm.
where like there was a mask that they used to wear back in the old days that they thought that it would keep disease and infection away, and like when people were dying of the plague or whatever, they would send these people in with these plague masks.
Hmm. Right. Okay. So yes, the doctors wore this to protect themselves from the patients. I want to talk about protection, but I want to talk about people feeling as though that they need to protect themselves from you. Now,
Okay.
I'm probably not going where you think I'm going with that, but oftentimes when somebody receives this type of diagnosis, other people are a little standoffish or they don't reach out because they are afraid of how it's going to make them feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
So right. So they're trying to protect themselves from the person that's actually sick, the same way the doctors did with those plague masks. So they're trying to protect themselves and their emotions. Have you run into that? Have there been people that you really expected to be there for you that are just nowhere to be found because they are trying to protect themselves from what you're going through?
Oh, absolutely. There's several people that are very good friends that just don't want to be around. Because and part of it I understand. You want to remember the person the way the person was, not the way the person is about to be.
Hmm.
However, you kind of lose time. It's funny how we as human beings insulate ourselves from tragedy. Where you make a conscious choice where you're like, okay, I'm not going to hang out with that person anymore because they're going to be gone sooner than later. But
Hmm.
anybody can die in a car accident at any time.
Right.
And you lose time and you lose memories and you lose things that you'll be able to carry with you when they're gone.
Hmm.
And you also don't realize that necessarily the impact that you're having on that person. There are plenty of people where I would like to be able to pick up the phone and just say, hey, let's go hang out. And I'm in a
Hmm.
situation there where I'm not allowed to go back to work. So I have a lot of free time on my hands. I'm volunteering at an animal shelter. I'm cleaning the house. But, you call your buddy up and he's working his 9 to 5 and he's still got his kids to deal with and go home and cook dinner and all that stuff. So, it's an odd situation when you've been working since you were 13 years old.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And
You start to.
you do have people that to protect themselves, they just kind of distance themselves, and it's a weird thing.
Right. Yeah. Did you ever take offense to that? Did you ever say, "Hey, I'm the one that's going through this, not you"?
Initially, I did, but then I came to realize that people have to live and grieve in their own way.
Hmm.
We all have choices, and I didn't get this until later in life. No matter what bad or dumb decision that you make, at the moment, at the time, you thought it was the right decision.
Hmm.
Hitler didn't wake up and go, "Hey, let's go be a bad guy." He thought he was doing the Lord's work. He wasn't. He absolutely wasn't. But in his mind, he thought he was doing what he needed to do. People
Hmm.
make choices like that every day. Whether it's something stupid like not clocking in at work or running a red light or whatever it is, you make a conscious decision. Um, and it's one of those things that you have to realize that people are just living their lives. You're a bit player in everybody's play.
Hmm.
but you're not the main focus. And for
Right.
me to have the hubris to say, hey, I'm mad at you because you don't want to hang out because I have cancer, that's not cool. You know,
Hmm.
because again, when you do see that person and you do get to hang out, it just ruins the time that you have.
Right. Yeah. It does. It does. Yeah. When you're faced with something like this, it really does put things in perspective. You start to change the way you look at life. Start
Absolutely.
to, yeah. You definitely do. Yeah. I get it. Okay. So, all right. Let's move on to the next picture. So the next picture right here. Okay. So what did you say you saw here?
The first thing I got was a big old, like a manta ray, like a black manta.
Hmm.
Like it's got the
Okay.
little pointy mouth at the bottom and the big wings, and like that was my first thought.
Hmm. Okay. So with the manta ray actually has to keep swimming in order to stay alive. If they stop swimming, then they'll actually die. So it has to just constantly be in a state of motion. What waves are you making right now to ensure that your name and your legacy will continue to live on?
Initially, when I was first diagnosed, it was all about me. But I've come to realize that it's not. You know, whether it's a quick text message to somebody, "Hey man, how you doing? Hey, are you okay?" Or a phone call, or going to the animal shelter, or hanging out with kids at the park, or just reading books to your wife, just whatever it is. You do whatever you can because you make an impact and don't even realize it.
Hmm.
I'm not really concerned with my legacy because it's funny. And an associate of mine passed away about 2 months ago. One of my customers actually, and I was watching the live stream of his funeral, and his brother made an excellent point. We're mist. We're a squirt of mist in the ocean of time. 100 years from now, nobody's going to know 99% of us. And if you look at all of the things in life that are important, like who's the guy that invented the refrigerator? Nobody knows. You know who George Washington is. You know who Abraham Lincoln is. But the guy that invented the refrigerator, or the guy that invented, you know, whatever fill in the blank, you don't necessarily remember who that person is. The only thing that you can do is try and have a positive impact and try to give people a good memory. They may not even remember what the joke was, but they know that when we hung out, we laughed.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how I've always lived my life, and that's why I do some of the more odd things that I do. And sometimes I'll say things that just absolutely blow people away just to make them think and make them laugh.
Hmm.
Because anything can be funny if you apply yourself.
Hmm.
And that impact that you make, you never know. You don't. We have
Right.
a mutual friend who reached out to me and said, "Hey, I was thinking about a conversation we had 2 years ago, and it really helped me through this situation in my life." And it's like, wow, man, I forgot all about that. You never know, but
Hmm.
you always have to remember that you're going to make an impact on someone, positive or negative.
Hmm.
You have to choose what impact that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. I agree with you. Um, I think that's going to be the main thing that people say about you. The thing that people say about you now. When Monty walks into the room, get ready to laugh. Now, also get ready to cringe. I mean, like, oh, I don't know if he should have said that.
You're going to be offended.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. When I talk about you, I tell people Monty is the type of person that sometimes he has to come with a warning label.
Yeah.
Before you meet him, I may have to preface, okay, look, this is Monty, and Monty is this way. And um you're going to hear a couple of jokes and you may cringe a little bit, and then after you start talking more and more to Monty, you realize there was nothing malicious at all about what he said. Monty is having fun and making jokes. And the more and more you speak to Monty, you realize This man has the biggest heart in the world. He has a heart of gold. He will do anything for anybody. And but one of the ways that you show love to the world is by just making us laugh.
And
And
I also think that sometimes we need to challenge what we think.
mhm,
You know, we take things for granted, and we live in a society now where everybody gets offended.
right.
And you know, we've gone so far to not only do we get offended, but let me be offended and let me try to get you fired.
Hmm.
At what
Yeah.
point does a dumb joke cost you your life? You know, your financial life.
Hmm.
Um, what's his name? John Mormont, the kid for Nashville.
I'm
Um,
not familiar.
okay, so he went into a strip club shirtless and waved a gun and put it on his Instagram.
Hmm.
This is a kid making millions of dollars in the NBA. He owns a
Oh,
mansion.
John Morant.
John
John
Morant,
Morant.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Hmm.
But it's like, come on, man. You know, we got to do
Hmm.
better.
Yeah.
That kid isn't hurting anybody. He's just dumb. And sometimes we do dumb things. Should he lose his job? Should he be banned from the NBA? Should he, you know, he definitely needs a handler. Like somebody needs to
Hmm.
tell him, hey, don't take your pistol in the club. But
Hmm.
should he lose his life, his financial life, and the life of his family and how they pay their bills because of doing something stupid?
Right.
And
Now,
15 years ago, we didn't have Instagram and we didn't have Twitter and we didn't have all these things that get young people in a jam every day.
right. Yeah. Now, I agree with you. I don't think that he should lose it all. However, you also need to be aware of the ramifications of your actions. You have to be aware of the fact that it can happen. So, you are still held accountable. And you got to understand, you don't get to escape life without being held accountable. And the way things are now, this is part of accountability. And you just have to be aware of that, especially if you're in the public eye. You have to be very mindful of the things that you're doing. And when you're not the owner of the business that's making you money,
Exactly.
you have to be aware of that, because you don't get to run this. You don't get to run this. You don't get to control whether or not you play. So, but yeah, so I understand. I completely understand what you're saying, but I'm also very big on accountability and awareness too. So, and he needs to hold himself accountable, and he needs to be aware of his actions. But I'm hoping, because he's such an amazing player. I don't even watch basketball. I watch all of the sports shows. So I'm very much aware of everything that's going on, and I'm very much aware of how electrifying and amazing player he is. So I would hate to see him gone from the NBA. I would hate it, but he needs to get himself together, though. Really
Yeah, and
does.
that's one of those things where you know you know go and circling back around. You know, some of my comedy is very blue. I like to swear.
Hmm.
I'm good at it. I'm really good at
Yeah.
it. I'm kind of Picasso when you get to the macabre and the absolutely frightening and things that should not be funny. You can make funny if you try. You
Hmm.
know, and the thing is it's supposed to make you think afterwards.
Hmm.
You know, and that's kind of the main thing because life is way too short, man. We can be gone in an instant, and why not have a good time? Why not make the people around
Right.
you feel good?
Hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Won't this thing pop up here? Okay, what was the other thing that you said you saw here?
Okay, so if you look at the black thing in the middle at the top, that's clearly an old school fountain pen,
Hmm.
and somebody just spilled the ink.
Okay,
You know, because they
so
were lazy and didn't put it back where it should be, and now their paper's all ruined. And then you're lying to your teacher about, oh well, the dog ate my homework. No, it didn't. You just didn't put your stuff away. So the moral of that picture is put your stuff away and handle your business. Because if you don't, you're going to ruin what you're doing.
absolutely. Now, um, so you said a broken pen, spilled pen. If I were to hand you a pen right now, a pen and paper, and I told you to spill your feelings on this paper, would it come from a place of being broken?
No, because you're never actually broken. And you have to remember two things. Being quote unquote being broken is just a transition.
Mm-hmm.
There is no growth without pain. Nature has taught us that, God has taught us that, the gym has taught us that. You don't learn anything and grow as a human being without some kind of pain behind it. Even if it
Mm-hmm.
was math when you were, 6 years old, or writing cursive, or whatever. So you're not actually broken. You're just in a different state getting to where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Is a caterpillar broken when it's in a cocoon? No. Is it broken when it's fighting its way out to become a butterfly? No. But we label things and we perceive things and we change reality to fit our narrative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm broken, poor me. What can I do? Sometimes you need like 5 minutes of that, and then you set that nonsense to the side and you handle your business. Because no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how upset you get, it doesn't change the situation.
Right.
I've got several
Mm-hmm.
friends that are very big into weed, and weed is their escape. And I've always said this since I was about 14 years old. That's your escape, and I'm happy for you, but 45 minutes later, you got the same problem. Now you're just out money.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? You're
Right.
not
Mm-hmm.
fixing the problem. You're not growing. And in
Mm-hmm.
society, especially nowadays, man, we make it so easy to avoid reality, whether it's escaping into books or movies or video games or whatever, that we've actually twisted reality to the point where, who knows what's real and what isn't. Why do we have
Mm-hmm.
so many shootings now? Because people have rationalized that that's okay in their reality, where because nobody's been there to say, hey, no. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
put the brakes on, because as society, we've gotten so selfish and so self-centered. And the other problem is we don't know how to handle adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I going through all of this, quote unquote, so well? I had a little bit of a rough childhood. I had a mother who was an epileptic and had 20 seizures every day. So by the age of
Wow.
5, I had to figure out how to handle that situation, because I may be the only one at home with my mom.
Hmm.
Now, that's done a couple things for me where little things I tend to let slide and make jokes, and it's no big deal, and big things I kind of handle completely differently. And we don't realize that we need that adversity to grow as people. You need that broken leg to be a better fighter. You need that broken hand to be a better fighter. You need to tear your ACL to be a better football player. You need to
Mm-hmm.
get fired from your dumbass job at McDonald's so that you can get your life together and get your real job. And if you don't go
Mm-hmm.
through that, when you actually have adversity come up, you don't know how to handle it. And then you lose your mind. You damage your family, you damage the people around you, and you don't learn adversity unless you go through it. Nobody can tell you about it. I can tell Terrell about cancer all day long. I can tell you the nuances, but you're never going to understand until you're there. And I hope you're never there. But there are things in your life from your childhood that you can tell me about that I'm never going to understand. I'm never going to know what it's like to be an African American man pulled over by the cops.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to be a white dude with 4 guns in your car that are loaded. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what it's like to be an African American man in Baltimore that just got pulled over. I'll never know that.
Mm-hmm.
Our adversity builds who we are, and we have to be conscious enough to open our mind and our souls to not only what other people think, but how other people feel.
Right.
And to be able to try and help and at least acknowledge. And we don't even acknowledge anymore. A lot of times somebody says something and we just, oh, well, I remember when blah, blah, blah happened to me. It ain't about you. Sometimes you
Mm-hmm.
just need to say, I don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand. I don't get it. But thank you for sharing that with me so that I can learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can basically replace the word broken with transformation.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, you might be transforming your four bottom toes, on your right foot to broken toes because you kicked the bed, but they're transformed now, you know?
Hmm.
You better hobble along and figure it out
Right. Hmm. And then essentially, you are a better person after going through that and coming out of it,
if you choose to be.
if you choose to be. Right.
You can choose to learn or not learn.
Hmm.
Choose to be a victim or not be a victim. And this isn't making light of anyone's situation because some things are absolutely horrific. Some of the things that my wife has been through, I can't even put into words the things that she has gone through. And I don't know how she's as strong as she is.
Hmm.
And people say that I'm strong and that I'm, all of these things, but I'm not. I've just come to the reality that if you have to embrace where you are and what you are. Because if you
But
don't, you're cheating yourself and everybody around you.
but I think that takes a certain degree of strength to be able to come to that realization, though.
Does it take strength or does it take so there's the old Bruce Lee quote about the oak tree and the willow. The giant strong winds come and the oak snaps, but it's the strongest tree that there is. The giant strong winds come and the willow bends. Do you choose to bend and learn, or do you stand your ground and break? And I've realized that life has become just because of the way life is, you have to
Hmm.
learn and understand and bend with adversity and learn from it. And
Yeah, but
that might be
you don't
strength, but I just don't see it that way.
you just don't see it that way. Okay, yeah, I got you. I do see that as strength only because it's easier to give up. It's
Yeah.
easier to not have to find the strength to be able to bend and to adjust. Adjusting is hard. Adjusting is hard, and but it does take a certain level of strength to adjust. So, but at the same time, when you say that, what I'm hearing, I see, I know Monty, so I'm hearing humble Monty. I'm hearing humble Monty. That's like, oh, that's not me being strong. That's just, me being able to adapt. That's it. But I'm here to not be humble for you and to just say, yes, you are absolutely one of the strongest people that I know.
Well, you come out to the club with me, get about 3 drinks at me, and see how humble I am.
Well, I
I'm
know
going to
that
tell you
Monty
right
too.
now.
I know that Monty too. So, all right, man. Let's move on to this next picture. So,
Oh, this is
what
my
did you
favorite.
say? Mine too. What did you say that you saw here?
Well, the easy answer was like an English or a French coat of arms from like an old house, a lot of history there.
Hmm. Okay. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead. But say something else.
But that's not the answer we really want.
Oh yeah, we're going to get to that
Right,
next
right.
answer in a second. Okay. So the coat of arms is actually the central element of the full heraldic achievement, which consists of several things. One of these things being a motto, right? But you said that initially, I believe you said it looked like it was upside down, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So for a lot of people, they would say that your life has been turned upside down. I think anybody who was sat through this interview would know that if somebody asks you, "Has your life been turned upside down?" you would say, "No, it has not been." But um, if someone were to think that your life was turned upside down, I tell you what. When let me go back. When you first received the diagnosis, for a moment initially, you did feel as though your life was turned upside down. At that moment, what would you say your motto was? And now, what would you say your motto is?
At that moment, of course, because you hear cancer and you hear how bad it is, you're like, well, I'm going to die. So then you realize that your first thought is, what can I do with the time that I have left? And who do I need to make amends with? And, all of these things flash through your mind.
Hmm.
As I've gotten a little bit further away from it, I've realized that while that is important, it's not as important as the time that you have left.
Hmm.
I wasted a good day and a half just completely freaking out over something that I have zero control over.
Hmm.
Why? Look at the time. I just wasted a day and a half for no reason. I could have read a book. I could have taken a class. I could have walked a dog. I could have done 500,000 other things that would have been at least productive. But you need that moment and you need that break to get to the next level, to transition. When
Hmm.
you hear, oh, you got cancer and you got 6 months to live. Okay. Let me digest that. Let me get through that. Let me put that in a perspective. And
Hmm.
then you can kind of wrap your hands around it and deal with it. But you've got to go
Right.
through that transition.
Hmm. So that's where you would go. So if you could just, at the moment that you received the diagnosis, if you just had one sentence that would be your motto, what would that have been at that moment?
I'm going to borrow something from Mark Pugh, one of the Briscoe brothers, who's a professional wrestler, and his brother passed away 2 months ago. He said something at the funeral that I don't think I'll ever forget. He said when he found out his brother had passed away, he could hear God's voice, and God said to him, "You say you have faith. Do you really have faith, or don't you?
Hmm. Okay.
Do you really believe the things that you have said, or don't you?" Man, that's
Hmm.
rough, man. If you got any kind
It
of faith at
is.
all, whether it's God or Allah or Ganesh or Share or whatever you believe in, when you get punched in the mouth, you've said to me 100 times, everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Hmm.
When life punches you in the mouth, what do? Do you really have the faith that you claim you have?
Right. Hmm.
And
So.
at that point, you got to make a decision.
Hmm. So at this moment, right now, where you are, what would your motto be if you had just one sentence or one word? Just what would it be?
One sentence, it would be, do you have the faith you say you have?
Okay, so it would be the same from the day that you received the diagnosis and
No, the
right
day
now.
that I received the diagnosis, it was a bad time, it was a waste of time. Let's get some hookers and some cocaine and let's go kill some pedophiles. But we can't do that, so we had to dial that plan back.
Yes, I remember those were your exact words to me
That's where
when
we
you
were.
said
Yep.
that. Yes, I remember that. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's get to the other part of this picture.
All right.
What's the other
So
thing that you said you saw here?
anyone who is of a certain age who is familiar with a television program called The Muppet Show can clearly see Miss Piggy putting makeup on. And she's getting dolled up. And that means she's steamed up. So if Miss Piggy is steamed up, you got to have somebody like Christopher Reeves coming on the show or Sylvester Stallone or, some kind of macho stud guy that Miss Piggy's like, oh, yeah, let me get a little bit of that. She's clearly leaned up against the mirror. And, yeah, it's about to be on. Kermie who? You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I went back and I watched the clip of Miss Piggy and Christopher Reeves, and
So you know exactly what I mean.
yes, yes. So, and the thing is this, they seemed like they had a lot of chemistry. And I'm thinking to myself, I can see the two of them dating. So my question to you is, if you were to date Miss Piggy, would you eat pork?
Why, yes. Yes, I would. the problem with Miss Piggy though is she's so high maintenance, man.
She is.
You
She
know,
really
like
is.
you know that going in. So it's one of those things that y'all get in a bad relationship. Don't be mad at anybody but yourself, because you
Yeah.
knew who that person was when you got there.
Can you imagine Miss Piggy on social media after a breakup?
Oh no, 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 no! Because she first of all, Twitter would love her, and
They
she'd be
would.
banned off of every other account for the words that she was using. Um, she would be in Facebook jail more than you.
If that's possible.
And the other problem is you figure Miss Piggy got a mean streak, man.
Yeah, she
Like
does.
Miss Piggy can hold a grudge. That's not the chick you want mad at you. There'll be videos leaking. There'll be text messages going out. Nope. And she'll replace you the very next day, because even though she's a big girl, she got it like that.
Yeah, yeah. And plus Gonzo been chasing her and she look, I'm sure she wasn't sit on his face. I should probably censor that. I don't oh no, they're grown now, so it's okay to say that. So we'll leave it in.
I mean, just because Gonzo got a big nose, you know what they say. It's hard to find a mask to cover that when the COVID comes. That's not what they say.
No, it's not
But
what they say.
yeah, but you figure Miss Piggy got Sam the Eagle. She got the whole Pigs in Space crew. She got Kermit running around, which I don't even know what he thinks he's going to do. The Swedish chef getting down. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And then Animal, if he decides to go crazy.
Well, Animal is kind of like a certain couple friends of ours that, when they get out in the club, they just don't know how to act. What are you going to do?
Is it our friends or is it us?
I do not understand what you're saying. There's no way that I could be a catalyst in somebody else's nonsense. I would
I
never
agree.
stir a pot. I mean, it's not who I am. Not at all.
You're right. You're absolutely right. That is your story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's what we're going with until the court order blood test comes back. That is not my job. Like, I don't know what you're talking
about. Okay, so look, now we're going to move on to another part of the show I call flip the script. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these pictures that I showed you, and I'm going to flip them upside down. Now,
Okay.
after I flip them upside down, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is that I see. And based off of what I see, I want you to ask me a question. But you can just pick one of the pictures. You don't have to do it with all.
Okay.
Actually, if you want to do all three, because I've had people say, "Hey, can I do all three?" So if you want to do all three, or if you want to do two, that's fine. But you can do just one if you want. But I'm going to tell you what I see on each one of these pictures. So we'll start. We'll start here. So right here, you said you saw the small pelvis and the plague mask, and upside down, that's what it looks like. And what I see, it looks like dinosaur fossils, but in the middle of blood splatter. And okay, so the next picture, you said you saw a manta ray, and a broken or spilled pen. And here, I see, and I'm pretty sure this is the one that you're going to want to ask a question if you only choose one picture. But what I see a large vagina that is, it looks like a vagina plane, like a vagina airplane, and it's flying, but it's being led by a penis. Like the nose of the vagina plane is a penis. Um, wait, where did you go? Oh.
I really need to have a conversation with your wife. Like, we need to get her in therapy today. Okay, but go with the third
What
one.
about me? I should be in therapy.
Oh no,
Actually,
there's
I'm in
no hope
therapy.
for
I'll
you.
probably need another one. You're probably right.
You're gonna need a sock full of nickels to the back of your head. That's what you're gonna need. Just get it over with.
And this other one is the coat of arms and Miss Piggy, and upside down. Upside down, it looks like two wolves howling at the moon, but having a tug of war over a stick that has a curvaceous beehive hanging from it upside down.
Are you sure that's not a vagina in the middle that they're playing tug of war with?
I mean, it's a curvaceous uh, beehive, which, and anything curvaceous. Anytime you hear me use the word curvaceous, it has a vagina. So
You
yes,
got
yes,
absolutely.
there is a vagina in the middle of that beehive. It's a
Okay,
sexy
so
beehive.
let's start with the first one.
Okay,
So
so we'll
you
start
said
with the no, not this, not this. Well,
so you
this one.
said dinosaur bones surrounded by blood.
Yes. Hmm.
Is there by any chance a DeLorean and an old man with you when you see this? Or
No,
okay, so you didn't go back in time to see the dinosaur get split open.
I I didn't go
Is
back
the
to the future.
CSI
No,
team with you? Like,
no, they're not with
okay,
me.
all right, so just dinosaur. Okay, all right. We're not here to judge, but I'm just saying that this might put you on a couple watch lists. Just keep that in mind. Let's go to number 3. We're gonna come back. We're gonna circle back to number 2, but let's go to number 3.
I was hoping you do that. Okay, all right. So number three.
So we've got wolves, and they're pulling on stuff because
They're howling at the moon.
wolves have opposable thumbs to hold on to things and play tug of war. Um, all right. So your animalistic side is coming out here, where you're seeing two sides fighting over a goal.
Okay.
Now, when you think about these two wolves howling at the moon and fighting over this vagina,
Hmm.
this curvaceous thing, does this give you any thought to maybe your younger years, or when you first started dating your wife, or maybe a past relationship that possibly there was a little bit more of a struggle instead of you just walking in and being king pimp shit, where you didn't have that, where you like kind of had to put a little work in.
No, it doesn't.
Tell me about a
Because
time. Tell me about a time that happened.
I do not want to come across as cocky. Because I really don't. I'm not being cocky right now. I am just giving just the facts. I have never ever had to really work to get a woman. It's never been a struggle. But part of the reason that I have never had to struggle was because a lot of times I didn't even try to make a move until I knew that she was interested.
I
So
I'm
there
so
was no
glad that
need
you
for a
said that.
struggle.
I'm so glad that you said that, because that was kind of a setup question and an all bullcrap, to be completely honest with you. Because you're a male and you
Mhm.
equate sexuality and curvaceousness with success, and obviously you've had a lot of success in that part of your life. Is it possible that the two wolves are not fighting over a female form, but over success in business? Where I know that
Now,
because you run 15 different businesses, you work more than a Jamaican New York City taxi driver who's got 55 jobs going on at any one time.
here we
That
go. This is the real Monty coming out,
this
y'all.
is
All
this
right,
is
go
where it
ahead.
is. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. That joke applies to you whenever I hear it. Is the struggle between the two wolves success? Is it money? Is it power? And what
I can.
motivates you to do 7 podcasts a week and all of your various other businesses that you're running?
So to answer the first part of that, that could very much represent me and how I've been from the probably since I was a kid. I've been very competitive, extremely competitive, because there was a I remember when I was playing basketball, and my first 2 years. So our first 2 years and my last 2 years playing basketball, and we're talking about from the age of like 6 to 12. But the first 2 years, last 2 years, we had undefeated seasons, won the championship. But the very last season, there was a guy that came on. to the team. And I remember looking at this guy and thinking, yo, this dude looks like he plays like Michael Jordan. Yo, we are 12 years old. Why do you look like Jordan right now? And I was thinking to myself, this guy is about to take the position. He's going to take the I said I was point guard. I knew that this guy was going to take the shooting guard position from the guy who had been running that who's been the shooting guard for the past few years. He came and he took my part. He took my position. And that whole season, it was bittersweet for me. I was never jealous of him. I admired him actually. But I at the end of that season when we won that championship, I didn't feel as though that I should be celebrating as much as everybody else because I felt that I didn't contribute because I was second string at that point. It's my first time ever being second string. So and I played baseball and basketball and I had never been second string before. So I just didn't feel as though that I should be celebrating the way everybody else was. But what happened was that day, I remember exactly where I was. I was after the game, everybody was celebrating. I left and I went to the bathroom. I was looking at myself in the mirror and I decided that day, never again will I allow anybody to take my place. And it started something in me that made me say it helped me to become extremely competitive and to always want to set a certain standard and to just raise the bar and raise the bar and raise the bar with everything that I was doing. Well, with that, it's just going to come a struggle because for me, in order for me to be the king, whoever is the current king, I have to dethrone them. So it's going to be a struggle. So with every single thing that I do, I look at whoever I believe is the best at it, and that's my target, and that's where my struggle. That's where my struggle lies. Somebody I've never even come in contact with, somebody I've never met, I probably in a lot of instances will never meet, but they are my competition and they are the ones that I'm trying to dethrone. So that's a struggle for me. It really is because when I was actively rapping, I wasn't comparing myself to my peers. I was comparing myself to Jay-Z. As a podcaster, I'm not comparing myself to my peers. I'm comparing myself to Joe Button and to Joe Rogan, to the guys who are at the top of their game. So I yeah, it's that, that's my struggle. That's what I'm fighting over. And the thing that we're fighting for, that stick, that curvaceous beehive, that beehive is symbolic of life as far as I'm concerned. There's so many things that, I'm a health coach and a nutritionist and I'm into all of this stuff. So I know a lot of the benefits of honey and and bee pollen and all of these things that come from it, but they give life. They give so much life. They give energy, and all of these different things that are symbolic to what I'm trying to achieve in life. Yeah, that's what I'm fighting for. That's
So,
exactly what I'm fighting for.
second follow up question:
Okay.
if that is the case,
Hmm.
how do you find joy in your work? Because from what you're saying and what you're expressing, if you're not Jay-Z, you feel like a failure. If you're not Joe Rogan, you feel like a failure. And it's always good to have that drive, but you always
Hmm.
have to celebrate the successes that you have. And it's funny, if you didn't have that punch in the mouth when you were 12, you probably wouldn't be who you are and where you are right now.
Right.
So
Hmm.
how
Um.
do you judge success in your life, and how do you celebrate the wins? Because you
Well.
have wins every day.
Right. I and scale back on what I see as success because my ultimate my definition of success is being in a position to create opportunities for other people and being able to help people on a major level. That's my definition of success. I'm still on my way there. So anything that I'm doing, I don't see it as failure. Actually, what I've had to do is realize, look, I'm a personal trainer, I'm a nutritionist, I'm a life coach. There are so many different ways that I have helped people. And I've had to have people tell me, look, you are successful. You have been successful at every point in your life because you're doing this and you're doing that and you're doing this. For me, my definition of success has just been so huge and so big that I sometimes miss the smaller details of the picture, which really I'm learning now are not so small. So it's
Absolutely.
not that I see it. Yeah, it's not that I see it as failure. I don't believe that if I so like with the whole Jay-Z thing, I don't see the fact that I did make it in the music industry as failure because it was my decision. I walked away from opportunities. I turned down record deals. I fired big name managers who were managing other big, rappers. It was my decision. And I made a decision for my integrity. I made a decision for my soul. That was success for me.
Cool.
I don't see myself as a failure, and I it but it has taken me a while to get there. It did take people telling me, hey, you're not failing. You have been helping people. You have been doing this and doing that, but for me, it's because I want to do it on a major level. I love feeding homeless people. And that's my first time, probably the only time you'll ever hear me say that publicly because I don't feel the need to share it. But I do go out, I feed the homeless. But for me, that's so small in comparison to what I want to do. I want to give homeless people jobs and I want to build homeless shelters and I want to allow them. I want to put them in a position where they're able to make a transition back into the working world and to have homes and to do all of these things. That's what success looks like for me.
Very cool. Congratulations on your clothing line, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
So now we need to get to the last picture. Is that correct?
Yes, we do. So where is this last picture? Here we go.
So you're saying this looks like a vagina, which clearly being penetrated by the world's oddest looking penis. I mean, we could do an entire show just on this picture. You realize that, right?
Look, don't give me ideas, Monty. Yeah, matter of fact, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do an entire show on this picture.
We, we can definitely bang out a good 60 minutes on what is happening in this picture.
I'm pretty sure you meant the word bang out too, but okay,
Yes,
go ahead.
yes, I did.
Okay.
So first of all, I'm getting you an anatomy book for Christmas. I'm reaching out to your wife so that she can have a shelter in place should she need one. Yeah, that's a very weird penis right there. I mean, I would have gone, but I see, with your motivations and the things that keep you motivated in life and your obvious success with women, because you would never have a problem with that. I mean, clearly, if you've seen enough vaginas, everything looks like a vagina, apparently. But sometimes a vagina looks like it's been run over by a car. Like, okay, this is where we are right now. I would just like to apologize to the listening audience. We kind of had something working there, and clearly the wheels have fallen off the car.
I don't apologize.
Yeah, that's a very weird penis, man. We really need to have a talk. Like I just don't get it, man. Like, okay, but that's what you see. So you must have had a
look here,
very
man.
weird. You must have had a very weird scoutmaster in Washington D.C. when you were a child. That's all.
Okay, so at this point, it's time to go ahead and bring this show to a close because
I think that picture closed the show for us on the pervert.
The real Monty is coming out now. Look here, man. Actually, we do have to go ahead and close out now, man. We're coming right up on an hour. So, Monty, I just want to thank you so much, man. First, I want to thank you for being my friend. And just everything that you have meant to me, everything that you mean to me, and everything that you will continue to mean to me. And what you mean not only to me but to my wife, to my family. You know, you were just amazing. I've shared your story like with my mother, and she has even been praying for you, and you've even touched her life. I mean, somebody that you've never come in contact with. I just want you to know the superhero that you are, because I know I'm only speaking for me, my wife, and my mother right now, but I know for a fact I'm speaking for a lot of people, because I know our friends, and I know we have a large friend group. We have a lot of mutual friends, and I know the impact that you have made on their lives. And I just, I know you're making the same impact on people that I don't even know that you know. So I just want to thank you for being who you are, Monty. Also, for everybody watching,
Well,
me and Monty, this isn't the last time you're going to see me and Monty. We got some things planned. So I think it'll be a good idea to start off with that vagina penis picture, and we can do a whole show on that and see what happens. So
yeah, we
we'll
can
see.
we can definitely build on that.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank
yeah. We'll
thank you for
see.
your compliments and thank you for having me on.
Mhm.
Just remember, we're all a pair of shoes in somebody's life. You buy a brand new pair of kicks, you go for a walk, whether they're hiking boots or they're sandals. You
Mhm.
carry them on the journey, and you're part of their journey until you're not. And
That's
that's really
amazing.
all we are, man. I'm just a pair of shoes.
Hmm.
And
That's
I
amazing. That
appreciate you and I love you to death. And thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
I love you too,
It
man.
got me
Well,
out of
look.
cleaning the house this afternoon.
Well, look. Before we get out of here, I got one more picture that I want to show you, man. Just tell me exactly what you see here.
This pop pod the you know I can't read, man. Why you gotta be like that? This podcast is so dope because
and,
Monty was on it today. Take all the
and
other
I
episodes
couldn't.
and throw them away because that's garbage. If you like the last 10 minutes of this, I think you're going to be a fan of what's coming. And I got to be honest with you, all I can do is make Terrell better, man. That's all I can try to do. Like,
Yeah, you got an uphill battle, but I think you can pull it off. Thanks again, man. I appreciate it. And for everybody else out there, y'all be good to each other.